Lowe's knows how to freshen up your yard, and it all starts with mulch. That's why we're introducing Mulch Week during SpringFest with can't-miss savings. Right now, get 5 bags of Stay Green Premium Color 2 cubic foot mulch for only $10. Plus, members earn 5 times the points on select mulch purchases all week long. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/9. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Today on CityCast Denver. The Mercury Cafe closed for good last week after nearly 50 years. While there's a lot of celebration around new ownership and the space's rebirth as the Pearl, there's also a lot of lingering questions. What's going on with the murals outside? What's up with the ongoing labor union battle? And perhaps the biggest question, do the new owners have any obligation to carry on the legacy of a defunct old Denver business? Oh, and just a note, this episode contains some explicit language. Today is Thursday, April 3rd. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Dom Garcia, Ashlee Cassity, and Sheli Gilman, welcome to CityCast Denver.
What?
Thank you. So we're in what was once known as the Mercury Cafe, now known as the Pearl. And you all are now taking ownership of this building in so many ways.
Yes.
But it's not just a building, I think, as we know. It has a lot of history. Sheli, I know a big part of what you do here is the events component. How are you balancing that old versus new, established? I'm a longtime Mercury person. I've put on events here myself. I've performed on the stage upstairs. I know how folks feel ownership over the space that they utilize, which is still a business. But how are you approaching this as the person that has to balance the long-established events with what the Pearl wants to do?
That's actually been a big thing that I'm dealing with specifically this week and now. I was going to say we've been, in addition to kind of building renovations, we've been meeting all of the Mercury Cafe kind of people that have been involved. Mm-hmm. And it's been really pleasant so far. Of course, there has been a little bit of uncertainty. I would say that is the biggest tension. But so far, we've been able, everybody that we've talked to or that I've talked to, I've been able to kind of disperse the tension and everybody's excited. And I'm excited. And I think everybody is kind of feeling good about things. And personally, I really want to work with everybody. There will be kind of new contracts negotiated.
I'm just thinking about you're walking into a full calendar, but you're also wanting to bring your own. Like, how are you making those? Have you had to make those decisions?
Honestly, for now, it's been kind of seamless. A lot of their events kind of end earlier in the night, or a lot of people have been willing to even switch rooms, but I have not canceled anything yet.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to kind of avoid that for as long as possible. But yeah, making room-wise for now, we've been doing it. And I think it is possible, just kind of looking at the calendar all day, every day.
I'm just thinking about you said like negotiating or contracts and things, and like this was all put on by one human person, Marilyn McGinnity, for a long time. There was this interim space where Danny Newman purchased the space, who you all are working with to buy it from, and things got a little murky in there. But Marilyn has always still sort of been in the background.
Yeah, she's also been in the background with us. We've been in contact with her.
She's amazing.
One of the first nights when we met her, she came by and checked out the mural and everything, and
she walked with us and we were explaining what we were doing outside with the mural. She was like, "Oh, I'm glad you are painting over that."
Really?
Yeah, the dinosaurs. Yeah.
Yeah, she was really happy about that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about that. Honestly, at first I was a little bit nervous. I was like, the astrological moment that's painted on the side that tells us all.
We did keep that.
It was painted over and then it was repainted. Yeah. And I was, and a friend of mine was like, "Oh no, they repainted it." And I was like,
"Yep."
Okay, but I'm thinking of 1,000 me's having that experience of like, but my favorite sign in the bathroom is gone, or my favorite, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also with the Maryland component of this, you're still a business.
Yes.
You're still having to run a business.
Yes.
How are you approaching that, understanding that you may have to discontinue something she was doing, or
Well, I mean, you just got to look at it for what it is. It's a business. It's a different time. It's different people. We even have our own brand. But I think that after speaking with her, our vision aligns with hers a whole lot. So I think that it's going to be really good. I think there will be some changes. I don't think that they're going to be crazy changes like the mural outside, things like that. I think we're here to upgrade the building. It's needed some love for a really long time. And, that's where we're starting. And we will adapt as we evolve.
So, I do want to talk a little bit more about the tension around the ownership because just honestly, Danny Newman purchased a building from Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
This was after she got tons and tons and tons of offers. He came to her and said, I think that I can do what you want to do here. I remember he told us in an interview when we talked to him, he had to sign the contract on a specific day at a specific time that's aligned with
Makes
the universe
sense.
for
Yeah.
Maryland.
Oh, I love that.
It seemed like, but also like this guy is known in the city as a savior. He helped with My Brother's Bar. He owns part of the clock tower. But things got weird. Like the food changed drastically and folks were concerned about it. And Danny has talked very openly about this, like the discontent a lot of the community had, and especially the labor issue situation where folks that worked here and former employees were pushing for a union and they felt that they should be paid more. And he was, it was very messy. And I wonder, this is after Maryland has sold it. What were your thoughts going into this and I don't know if it's inheriting that or approaching that?
Personally, I was a little bit worried about public opinion. I wrote our PR statement that we first put out on social media, and it really took a lot of kind of back and forth to figure out what we wanted to put out and working with Danny on that. Yeah, I think there were a lot of things up in the air, and that is something that we have to acknowledge and have had to acknowledge. But we're also very different people. We have we're keeping their staff, we're combining with our staff, and I think it's important to acknowledge the past, but that's also a different business. Yes, we're in the same building, but we're very different people and a very different business in the way that we run things.
Yeah. we would have never bought the LLC, because we are our own brand. And so this is strictly a landlord and tenant relationship between Danny and us. And so, you were
I went back and forth with some of the union leaders on Instagram. And, a lot of them are like, oh, it's union busting because, you purchased a unionized business. And I was like, I didn't purchase a unionized business.
Yeah.
We weren't going to be like in this like legal loophole with a union.
But Jupiter Pluto LLC, which is what Maryland sold to Danny along with the building, was going with Danny, and so we are not liable for anything that Danny's done, but we have our own LLC. But we also understand what happened, and we know that we operate differently, and we wanted to be given that chance to show,
Yeah, and we just really wanted to clear that air. I mean, we didn't purchase the Mercury Cafe, and I think a lot of people were under the assumption that we did, and
that's partially why it's called the Pearl,
Exactly.
right? Is
Yeah,
you didn't buy the Mercury Cafe.
If we would have bought it, we would have kept the name.
Yeah, so
we did love the name.
We did love the name. We did want to keep the name.
We tried to play with different variations of the name.
Yeah. So, ultimately, I thought it was best that we come in with our own brand and we just try to maintain some of that history and that legacy, but also, bringing ourselves in here and how we operate differently. And, I did a Q&A on our Instagram, and a lot of people asked about the union or, if we're employee owned or things like that. And, our staff will speak on that as well. And, if our staff felt the need to unionize, it's very clear that I'm doing something wrong as leadership. And I think my staff would know that they could always come to any one of us with any kind of concern, and we're going to do our best to address it, whether that be, hey, I'm not getting paid enough. And I'll look at that and say, hey, okay, let's visit that. Let's see what we can do to make things work. And we're very transparent about finances with our staff. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that we really hide from them. So I think in terms of like a union being in place like in our business, I just don't see it happening. I don't see that there would ever be a need for it just based on our ownership and our
I was going to say, you're the owner, so I would say that's one perspective of the ownership versus the labor side of it that may feel differently, but that's where that's the position you all are taking in that.
Absolutely. And
our staff took to social media as well.
Yeah, our staff was commenting to the old Mercury Cafe union, kind of saying the same thing, like they're the best like owners and we would never unionize,
Interesting.
Because they feel comfortable coming to us.
Yeah.
I think when
we're like a family.
Yeah, when businesses unionize, I think that there's a disconnect between leadership and staff who's actually doing, the job. And I think the reason why people would unionize is obviously there's something that they're wanting that they're not able to get. And I think for the most part, we provide our staff with everything that the union was asking for outside of like the pay and outside of benefits. It's just something that we can't afford right now. Our staff knows that, and we do plan to visit that once we can afford it.
Well, yeah, this is month 5.
Yeah, so we're new, so we're just getting our bearings, and I think, maybe a couple years down the line that that's something we could do. We'd love to do that.
I can just hear someone saying, "Well, it sounds like they're anti-union then."
Yeah, and people have commented that. People have said, hey, are you anti-union? Absolutely not. I think that, when you look at Starbucks and you look at
Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon, all those places, I absolutely think that they should be unionized. Those are big corporations that are worth millions and millions of dollars. And it's about those CEOs hoarding wealth. We're not hoarding wealth. We actually don't pay ourselves. We're not getting paid anything.
I can actually barely pay my rent this month, and I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
So we make sure the staff is paid.
Yeah.
And we make sure that the building is operating and we do what we need to do.
And they have their inventory and, they have their correct training and safety training and, things like that. We're taking the best approach that we know how to take. And we're always looking for feedback, whether that be from community, staff. We're always looking for that feedback, and we always try to apply that feedback if we can.
Yeah, but we're a small business who's only been open for 5 months and has went through a huge transition into a really big space. And yeah, I think that we are doing the best that we can, and I think our staff sees that, and we are transparent, and I think that that's important.
This episode is brought to you by bookshop.org. Whether you're searching for an incisive book that helps you make sense of this moment, a novel that sweeps you away, or a perfect spring break read, bookshop.org has you covered. When you shop at bookshop.org, you can choose an independent bookstore right here in Denver to support directly with your purchase. Just pick your fave. Feel good about buying books online with bookshop.org. You'll know that your money is supporting your local community, and you'll be helping indie bookstores continue to foster culture, curiosity, and a love of reading for generations to come. Use code CityCast now to get 15% off your next order at bookshop.org. Well, I have been reading the Kathleen Hanna autobiography, and the section about her relationship with Kurt Cobain was so sweet and so poignant. It just made me so happy. I didn't hear the whole story of their friendship before that book, and it was really lovely to read. But it is a really sad book, and I'm having to read it in sections because it's brutal. But it's beautiful. And check our show notes to find bookshop.org's bookstore map, and don't forget the code CityCast for a bangin' discount. Just wait until they get to the part where she marries Ad Rock from the Beastie Boys. Amazing. This episode is brought to you by CAP Management. CAP Management helps HOAs plan sustainability projects and comply with Energize Denver, which is the city's program for making buildings more energy efficient. CAP has helped some 50 Denver HOAs reduce energy and water consumption, saving associations money and helping them avoid financial penalties. For listeners who own in or sit on the board of an HOA, CAP invites you to attend their upcoming HOA Earth Day sustainability event in downtown Denver on April 22nd. This free in-person event provides one-on-one access to HOA sustainability experts, education around the Energized Denver Ordinance, and a forum to meet and share ideas with other homeowners. Drinks and food provided. I was also just thinking about my mom and her HOA. They got chargers put in at their building for electric cars. They got a whole section of them, and it was because she joined with her HOA to make it happen. So To learn more, visit hoaearthday.eventbrite.com. That's hoaearthday.eventbrite.com. At the end of the day, you're running a business, but you also have chosen in some capacity to carry on the legacy of a thing that you did not create. Can I ask, how do you feel about that? Do you feel committed to, what are you thinking about in the future of the Pearl that used to be the Mercury Cafe?
Yeah. So, when we walked into the space, there's kind of like this magical feeling you feel when you walk into the space. And I had personally never been to the Mercury Cafe prior to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I'd never been.
I love
I know,
this
and I'm
place.
going to get a lot of flack for that. Like,
No, I feel sad. I'm like, oh, you didn't get to see it.
Yeah,
and it's like,
I'm
its moment.
not a nighttime person either. And the first bar I ever went to in Denver was my own bar, Pearl Divers, when we opened it. So that says a lot
That's
about me.
actually, I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's funny.
It was really funny.
So,
You're a bar owner. You're like, I don't really like to go out at night.
Yeah, and I could dive a little bit into that. The reason why I wanted to open a bar is because, Blush and Blue was closing. And I think queer people deserve a space. And I couldn't let that. I'm another business owner as well. I own a hair salon. So I'm no stranger to owning a business. So I said, why not me? And, I had a connection, and then I met Ashlee, and Ashlee had bar experience, and I was like, I need you. I don't know you, but I need you. And we've had this just beautiful relationship. And yeah, so that's how Pearl Divers came about. And then when we were looking for another location, because we knew we needed a permanent one, I heard a lot of people talking about Mercury Cafe. Some of the people that were booking events at Pearl Divers were like, we're boycotting Mercury Cafe. So I had that in the back of my head, like, let me see what's up with the Mercury Cafe. So I saw it was for sale, and I was like, man, I don't have $2.7 million. So let me just reach out and see if they'll lease it to me. And when we met Danny, we walked in the space, and I was like, Danny, I love the space how it is, and I don't really want to change much. I just want to add our brand in here. And I think Mercury Cafe has been a queer space since.
Yeah, I found that
beginning.
criticism interesting. I saw some folks being like, oh, it's a sapphic only space, which is like, okay, what is when was that? I mean, we wish, sure, I guess, but that doesn't really
even
exist.
Marilyn herself was like,
It's always been a gay
always
space.
been a gay space.
It's a witchy gay space, but
Yeah.
it didn't, she wasn't like pride flags everywhere, whatever denotes gay space to her. Did that concern you all in any way that folks were like, oh, now this is a gay space?
No.
No, I make it a point to, during the farewell, I had a couple conversations with people who had frequented the Mercury Cafe, and I was like, yeah, we're going to do drag shows. Yeah, we're going to do drag storytelling, and we're gonna do this and that, and it's going to be gay. And, I saw my bartenders kind of looking like, and I was like, no, that's what I want. I want people to know that that's what we're about, because if that's not your vibe, Mercury Cafe has never truly been your vibe.
But if that's your vibe, come on in.
Yeah, definitely think it's based on the political climate
Yeah.
we're in. I think that people are so focused on like, trans, gay. Like they see it as this like horrible, terrible thing. And it's like, you're welcome to be in this space. As long as you're not a fucking asshole, you're more than welcome to be in this space.
Have you been worried at all about the folks that had not been coming in because they felt like after Marilyn left, it was never going to be the same? Or
We've had a couple of people come in saying, I haven't come in since Marilyn sold it.
interesting.
And I really, it's like back to its olden days.
Yeah, I
That's
think a lot
what
of people
we
are
have
feeling.
heard.
Yeah, we have heard that. People are saying, yeah, this feels like the old Merc. This feels like the old Merc. And that's kind of, in a sense, the goal.
Yeah, just with a few enhancements.
Yeah, like drag shows.
Like,
different food. I mean,
well, and our brand,
definitely.
so it's gonna be our brand in here, just coming together with the Merc, and
It's kind of like the rebirth. And yeah, I mean, and that's kind of like how our mural is. It's the birth of the Mercury Cafe.
And you're describing the mural that's being painted on the outside of the building
Exactly.
now for
Yeah.
folks who haven't seen it yet.
Yes.
It's a new mural.
Yeah,
and
it
it
tells a
kind
story.
of tells a story
That's what it's meant to do.
into us.
Yeah.
And I think that, change can be scary,
Yes.
but change can also be good. I mean, this building had been slightly neglected, I would say. It's needed some love, and that's what we're here to do, I mean, you kind of look around the space and you're like, huh. Yeah, that could, that ceiling tile there, probably need to replace that. And those are things that we want to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen overnight. We're
So you
finding
don't
new
feel like
things every
people
day.
should be worried? Because I have to say, I walked in the front door and I was like, oh, the entryway
different.
feels different. Like all of a
Yeah.
sudden there's usually like an altar over here. And now it's like, is this a coat room? Like I'm feeling conflicted feelings, but I'm also like, this is a new business.
So the thing about that is, it was part of the duct from the swamp cooler, and they were trying to hide it, and so it was hanging down.
Oh my goodness.
So if you peeked under that like black sheet that
it had like
the purple light
stuff falling and
insulation.
It had a black sheet.
There's probably 10 pounds of insulation
Yeah.
that fell
So
down
maybe
when
those things that
Yeah.
feel like changes are safety
Yes.
improvements.
So
a
we were
lot
like-
of them are safety
So we were like,
improvements.
okay, let's see what's under there. So we got someone in here and we took it down and we were like, oh my gosh, there's this beautiful ceiling. And
Yeah.
now we can, there hasn't been any touch up paint. Let's just paint it. And we're going to add a few things that are our brand just so you kind of know when you're coming
When you
in.
come in, what you're coming into.
So you kind of feel like you're,
To me, if I hadn't been in here in a long time, I maybe wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
Like there's some changes that I think Danny made as well. But like, I mean, I would say as a longtime lover of the Merc, like don't fear a little bit.
Well, there
Thank you.
also has been some changes, not by us, that we've been stolen from.
no.
Someone stole the hand for the tarot
no.
reading.
It's been there, yeah.
Someone stole
Yeah,
a mask
lot of
off the
things
wall.
that are gone
have been stolen.
people have
Oh, that makes me
taken.
sad. And I bet people are just like, oh, I want a
Pictures.
souvenir of my thing that's not here anymore.
Yeah, a bunch of
But
pictures
Forgetting.
off
it's
the wall.
here.
Yeah,
It
it's part
was
of the
gonna
Mercury.
stay.
Yeah, I was
Days.
gonna
Still
say,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, and people are like, "Oh, you can't just let people steal."
We can't. Yeah,
Well, I'm not letting them. I don't want them to steal. They're doing it
yeah.
on their own accord, and I think that does make me really sad because, I feel like we're gonna get a lot of blame for that. That hey, man, they're changing that. They got rid of this. It's not us. People are stealing from us. And
I would just say, if you knew Maryland, there might be a spell or two on this building, and I don't know if I would steal stuff out of it.
Yeah,
that's
she-
actually she told us
yeah.
she did a
Did she?
couple spells on
Yeah.
us. Good luck spells. So.
That's what, yeah, she said she came over here when she found out that we were going to be signing our paperwork, and she came the day before and put some good luck and good fortune spells on this place.
Oh my
for
God,
us.
I want to.
Yeah, she came in the other night, maybe like a week or so ago. They were doing like a documentary in here.
Yes.
Came over. She was ordering something at the coffee bar, and I went over there, gave her a hug, and she said the energy in here feels amazing.
Oh.
So to hear Marilyn say that, and
that's the ultimate blessing.
yeah,
honestly.
and I truly do think that it's in the right hands. I mean, Danny had a lot of offers, and I think he didn't want it to go to a developer. I know that I said I'd never been to the Mercury Cafe, but when I walked in here, I understood the assignment.
Yeah.
And I knew I couldn't let it go to a developer. And
Same.
yeah, I'm happy a bunch of lesbians took
We
it
want
over.
to.
Me too, frankly. Well, Ashlee, Dom, and Sheli, thank you so much for talking with me.
Yeah, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
My first podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And hey, what about you? Do you have any memories of the Merc? What about your hopes and dreams for the Pearl? Call or text us on the Old Denver, New Denver, Always Denver hotline at 720-500-5418. Again, that number is 720-500-5418. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell Marilyn McGennity about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See ya!
I get this phone call later, and she's like, Dom, this is Marilyn. I was like, oh, hi.
It's like the Godfather calling you
no,
a little bit.
Yeah.